Hey there, aspiring criminal mastermind. So you've looked at all the perfectly reasonable career options available in the 1920s, like being a door-to-door penny whistle salesman or a professional horse mustache groomer, and thought, nah, what I really want is to spend my days running from federal agents while hauling questionably made alcohol that could either get me rich or dissolve my stomach lining. Well, congratulations, you brilliant disaster. You've just signed up for what might be the most stressful career choice of the 1920s. And yes, I'm including telephone operators who have to manually connect every single call while being yelled at by impatient businessmen who think shouting, "Hello! Hello!" repeatedly somehow makes the technology work better. Look at all these happy people at speakeasies drinking and dancing the night away. Bet you think you'll be living the high life as a bootlegger, don't you? Well, buckle up, Buttercup, because I'm about to take you through the reality of your new career choice, and spoiler alert, it's about as glamorous as a rat swimming in your bathtub gin. First things first, let's talk about your new office. Remember when you complained about your desk job? Well, your new workplace is going to be either a dank basement that smells like fermented potatoes, because that's exactly what it is, or the back of a truck that's definitely seen better days. And by better days, I mean days when it wasn't being shot at by federal agents or rival gangs. Fun times. Speaking of transportation, hope you enjoy long drives, but not the peaceful scenic kind. You'll be driving at night on unpaved roads with no headlights because you're trying to be discreet. Nothing says professional criminal quite like driving blind and hitting every pothole between Chicago and Milwaukee. And let's not forget your constant companions, anxiety and paranoia. Every time you see headlights in your rearview mirror, you'll get to play everyone's favorite game. Is it the feds or just another poor soul who can't sleep? But wait, there's more. Remember how you thought you'd be making fancy cocktails and hanging out with glamorous flappers? Well, surprise, most of your time will actually be spent making alcohol that could potentially blind someone. That's right, you're not a bartender. You're basically an unlicensed chemist with no actual chemistry knowledge. Sweet homebrewed moonshine might sound romantic, but there's nothing poetic about accidentally creating methanol and sending your customers to the emergency room. Oopsie! Let's talk about your new business partners. You know all those gangster movies where everyone's wearing nice suits and speaking in cool accents? Yeah, forget that. Your actual associates are more likely to be that guy who thinks bathtub gin should literally be made in a bathtub, complete with soap ring and his grandmother's forgotten bath salts. Congratulations. You're now selling lavender-scented blindness. Your cousin Earl who swears he knows a secret recipe, but actually just adds extra sugar to everything because his taste buds were permanently destroyed in the Great Moonshine Incident of 1922. We don't talk about what happened to his eyebrows. A former Prohibition agent who got fired for drinking on the job and now has the world's most ironic resume. Experience includes shutting down illegal operations, running illegal operations, and giving motivational speeches about career transitions. The local undertaker who thinks storing alcohol in hearses is genius because who's gonna check a dead body? Spoiler alert, everyone checks the dead bodies now, thanks to your brilliant innovation, mortician Mike. And my personal favorite, that one guy who insists on wearing a fake mustache to avoid recognition, but somehow chose one that's bright orange and 3 sizes too big. And let's not forget about your competition, because nothing says welcome to the neighborhood quite like finding you're still smashed to pieces and a friendly note written in bullet holes. The thing about illegal businesses is that you can't exactly file a complaint with the Better Business Bureau when someone decides to take over your territory. Your options are basically give up and find a legal job. The smart choice that you'll definitely ignore because you've already bought a fancy hat for your life of crime. Start a gang war, the movie choice, except instead of dramatic shootouts, it's mostly passive-aggressive notes and stealing each other's delivery routes like angry paperboys. Move your operation to an even worse location, like your grandmother's root cellar, the desperate choice, where she'll periodically wander down to store her preserves and pretend she doesn't notice you cooking moonshine while muttering, "Oh, that's nice, dear," and asking if you've met any nice girls lately. Try to convince everyone you're actually running a health tonic business, because apparently the only thing more legal than illegal alcohol is completely unregulated medicine. Fake your own death and start over in Canada, the nuclear option. only to discover that Canadian bootleggers are impossibly polite and keep apologizing while trying to run you out of business. Speaking of locations, let's discuss your new real estate options. As a bootlegger, you'll get to work in such prestigious venues as abandoned barns, now with 100% more angry raccoons, damp cellars featuring vintage mold from 1879, remote cabins, perfect for both making alcohol and starring in a horror movie, your uncle's farm until he realizes what you're doing and threatens to tell your mother. But hey, at least you're making money, right? Well, sort of. What they don't tell you in those glamorous gangster stories is that most bootleggers were basically the gig workers of their time. You're not Al Capone, you're more like Al can't pay his rent. After you factor in bribes for local police, replacement costs for seized equipment, medical bills from drinking your own product, repairs for your perpetually breaking down truck, hush money for that nosy neighbor who keeps accidentally walking by your operation, you're basically making the same amount as a regular job, just with the added bonus of possible jail time. And speaking of jail time, let's talk about your retirement plans. Unlike other careers where you might get a gold watch and a pension, your career as a bootlegger is likely to end in one of three ways. A nice, long stay at a federal penitentiary, where the food is somehow worse than your moonshine. Going legitimate when Prohibition ends, and realizing you have no actual business skills. Deciding that maybe your mother was right and becoming an accountant wasn't such a bad idea after all. But wait, there's the constant fear of federal agents. These fun-loving folks have made it their life's mission to ruin your day. They've got fancy badges, actual training, and most importantly, the legal right to arrest you. And let me tell you, they take their job very seriously. Maybe it's because they're bitter about not being able to drink themselves, or maybe they just really enjoy smashing barrels of alcohol with axes. Either way, they're like the world's most dedicated party poopers. And don't forget about the creative ways you'll need to hide your product. Because apparently, putting it in boxes labeled "definitely not alcohol" isn't good enough. You'll become an expert at hiding bottles in loaves of bread until your delivery guy gets hungry. Disguising your truck as a milk delivery vehicle, milk that makes you dizzy and poor at decision-making. Pretending those suspicious-looking barrels are actually full of pickles, the world's most alcoholic pickles. Creating false bottoms in everything, including your hat, because why not? Let's not forget about the quality control aspect of your job. Unlike legitimate businesses, you can't exactly put satisfaction guaranteed on your illegal hooch. Your customers' feedback will range from, "I can still see, so that's good," although everything's been slightly purple since Tuesday. My hangover lasted 3 days, but at least I didn't go blind. Also, are teeth supposed to feel fuzzy? Pretty sure this is just water with food coloring, and maybe some dreams you stole from orphans? Is it supposed to taste like burning rubber mixed with my grandmother's disappointment? I think I just saw God, and he's very disappointed in both of us. Also, he wants his recipe back. My cat took one sniff and learned how to speak French. He's been very judgy about my life choices ever since. Pretty sure this batch gave me the ability to see through time. Yesterday looks concerned. And my personal favorite, I've never felt more alive. Update from the hospital, I've also never felt more dead. The social aspect of your new career is also interesting. Your family gatherings will become increasingly awkward as you try to explain why you smell like fermented corn, and why you keep jumping every time someone knocks on the door. Your dating life will consist entirely of people who are either too excited about dating a bootlegger, red flag, horrified when they find out what you do, understandable, trying to turn you in for the reward money, definitely a deal breaker. And then there's the constant need to come up with creative excuses for your activities. No officer? Those aren't brewing supplies in my trunk. I'm just really into, advanced plumbing. The reason I'm driving at 3 a.m. with no headlights is because I'm practicing for the lunar apocalypse. That smell coming from my basement? Oh, that's just my new exotic cheese-making hobby. Why yes, I do need 50 pounds of sugar and 200 mason jars. I'm really into making jam. But perhaps the worst part of being a bootlegger is the constant pressure to sample your own product. After all, you can't sell something without testing it first, right? Wrong. This is how conversations with your doctor start going. How many drinks do you have per week? Does accidentally inhaling alcohol vapors count? That's not a normal question. Also, is temporary blindness always bad or just usually bad? In conclusion, if you're still thinking about becoming a bootlegger after all this, I have to admire your determination, or question your judgment, possibly both. Just remember, when you're sitting in a jail cell or running through the woods at midnight while carrying a barrel of questionable liquid, or trying to explain to your mother why you can't come to Sunday dinner because you're working, hiding from federal agents in a cornfield, just remember, you chose this life. But hey, at least you're not a telephone operator. Remember, kids, stay in school, don't become a bootlegger, and if someone offers you homemade moonshine from their uncle's farm, maybe stick to water, or better yet, invest in that exciting new soft drink company called Coca-Cola. I hear they just removed the cocaine from their recipe, so they're clearly making responsible business decisions. And now, 100 years later, people pay $15 for artisanal small batch craft beer made by guys who look exactly like bootleggers, but with better facial hair and more expensive hats. Sometimes history doesn't repeat itself. It just grows a handlebar mustache and charges you extra for authenticity.